Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with the Chamber. I want to thank everyone for being with us this morning. And before we start, I want to give an opportunity to our sponsor today, Clinton Pownell of Computer Business Consultants. Clinton?
Oh, thank you, Dave. Computer Business has been a proud community trustee with the South Lake Chamber of Commerce for many years, and we look forward to the day when we can all get together in person and connect. For those of you unfamiliar with Computer Business and what we do, Computer Business is a full-service IT company offering a comprehensive suite of IT services ranging from complete managed IT and security to innovative custom designs and solutions. Now more than ever, we are all operating off our mobile devices, which can leave your business vulnerable if your device falls into the wrong hands. And with our mobile device management, you no longer have to worry about your sensitive information being breached. In the event of loss, theft, or mobile device management, provides our ability to locate, lock, and wipe lost devices. This includes removing sensitive information such as Wi-Fi passwords, configuration settings, data, and sensitive or protected documents. And I'd be happy to connect with anyone after the call if you have any questions about protecting your mobile device or any other IT needs your business may have. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Clinton. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you sponsoring today and all you do for the Chamber. You're really a great supporter. We appreciate that. Our program this morning, we have a topic for our program this morning. It's called Best Foot Forward. From the discussion that we had last week, we had a couple of the folks on the call, Glenn Holcomb as well as Stuart Wilson, had talked a little bit about Zoom etiquette, what you can do to make your I am getting a call on my phone. What you can do to make yourself look good on Zoom calls, and I need to disable my phone feature, I guess. So we are having a brief program for Put Your Best Foot Forward, where Glenn and Stuart will talk about some things that you can do to make yourself look good on Zoom in your virtual meetings. And then after we have that part of our program, people will be able to ask any question they wish, and then we will do our traditional part where folks on the call will have an opportunity to talk about their business and introduce themselves. So with that, I am going to introduce Glenn Holcomb from Manatee. Go ahead, Glenn.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Glenn Holcomb from Manatee IT. We're a technology service provider here in Lake County. We're going to cover a whole bunch of things today, sort of a shotgun approach on best practice, best techniques, and how to get the most as both a host and a participant of meetings. So let me share my screen here. Can everybody see that? Awesome. Okay. Okay, one of the things you want to do before you start a meeting is make sure your technology works. You don't want to run into a meeting at the last minute and your Windows is updating or you have to download a new Zoom client. So sometime during the day before your meeting, go through and just check. You'll see where you can download the client and just make sure your video, your webcam works. Many times when I come online, I find I've got to replug in my webcam or it's not working. Punctuality. This is our new normal. We're all in videos. And like most of you, I'm sure you've got multiple of these meetings stacked up each day. If you're a host, you want to get in about 10 minutes beforehand to make sure you're ready for your attendees, you're using best practice and putting them in the waiting room. And for attendees, please get in on time because everyone's time is valuable when you're doing this. Now, as you're hosting a meeting or participating in a meeting, one of the things you can do to stay on track so everyone's engaged is have a published agenda, just so everyone has an idea of what you're going to be covering and what their time is as they're participating. As a host of a meeting, you want to drive the bus. So as Amanda does for us in our meetings, she's telling us to watch our time. She's moving us between the different sections of the meetings. You always want to have this going on so you're respecting everyone's time in that meeting. And as a host, one of the things you can use are keyboard shortcuts in Zoom. These can mute your own audio, which is Alt-A in Zoom, or Command-A if you're using a Mac. But as you're a host, you can also mute everybody at once, which is a good idea, and we'll cover a little bit of that later. And finally, for the best practices, when you can, turn on your video. it lets people be engaged with you. Unfortunately, as we're meeting over video, we lose all those body cues of what people are doing, if they're paying attention, if they're nodding off as you're talking. And with your video on, your host can see how it's going and if they need to adjust either their speaking style or when you have questions and they're not monitoring the chat. And set a profile picture, so if you do have to turn off your video, people still know who you are, because if you're doing meetings that have guests in it, you may not know everyone that's attending. Okay, now to looking your best. Lighting. Lighting is key. You don't want to be in a tunnel. What you don't want is to be backlit, because then your face just darkens out. So you want a light source in front of you and either have an open window in front of you, you can face a window, or put a lamp. Also, camera position. You don't want what I call nose cam. You don't want a camera looking up at you and into your nose. You want your camera just above eye height, so you're looking at your audience when you're talking. So here's an example of horrible lighting and horrible position. As you can see, I've got a window behind me. I'm completely backlit. You can't see my face, and the camera is looking up at me. This, although it's a horrible picture, is a much better video shot of you're well lit and you're at eye height. So when you're talking, you're making that eye contact and making the connection with your audience. Staging your area. So what this means is you want to be aware of your surroundings in your room. I use a photo backdrop because I share an office with my wife and her crafting table is behind me and no one needs to see that. But you don't want to have like a kitchen with dirty dishes or the kids running around with you. You can use virtual backgrounds if you're using Zoom. Teams has just introduced virtual backgrounds and blurring your background. So you just want to be aware of what's around you. Also, you don't want to do a walk and talk. If you're on a mobile device, you don't want to get up and walk around and have your background moving all over the place because it can make people a little seasick. Dress appropriately for your meetings. Lots of people, you're working from home, you're at the last minute, you get up. Some people are like, oh, I'll just put a business shirt on and have jammies on the bottom. Not what you want. If you coffee spills, kids come in, you have to jump up. People see your My Little Pony jammies. It's not the impression you want to leave with people. And look into the camera. That's how you're connecting with your audience. When you're in a physical room, you have eye contact with everyone. This is how you do that virtual eye contact. And if this is going to be your new normal for a while, you may work remotely now for a long time. You may want to invest in a better webcam and microphone. It's not to, don't do it right now because everything's in short supply and they've like doubled the prices on all these devices. But you can get a good webcam for about $100 and microphones. I use a little lapel microphone for 20 bucks. Meeting etiquette. Don't eat in a meeting. Pretend you're in an office. I mean, unless it's a lunch meeting and everyone's on board with it. People don't want to see you chewing. They don't want to see what you're having. Drinking is okay because everyone needs water or something. But that. Don't do private things when in a meeting. I'm sure you've seen on the internet, if not, you can search for them, of people that forgot they were on video in a meeting. There's one where this poor woman went to the bathroom with her phone with her video on. And you see the horrified look on the rest of the meeting participants as they're going through of seeing this poor woman do that. If that's the time that you can turn your video off, if you need to handle something, the kids, a bio break, whatever it is. And on your remoting, stay focused. So if someone is presenting, pay attention to what they're doing, close your email, close other web browsers, focus on what the content is of the meeting and be an active participant. But in doing that, if you're not talking in a meeting, stay on mute, especially when you have like speaker takes the attention when you're on a meeting. If you have background noise going on, your picture is going to keep popping up and be distracting for everyone else. And finally, the host should be the last one to leave a meeting. As we finish up and people have questions, the host can watch those things and they should wait for everyone else to leave the meeting. So those are some of the quick tips we have to make the most of your meeting. And now I'm going to pass it on to Stuart.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Those are all good points. My name is Stuart Wilson and I'm with Mango Tree Arts. And I plan to use this time to develop my online skills. We should always have prepared remarks. You may want to do that in different lengths. If one of the worst things to happen is the host says, please tell me something about your business. And you only have about a minute to do that. And 5 minutes later, you're saying, does anybody have any questions? So have a 1 minute or a 2 minute or a 5 minute speech. A 1 minute presentation is really would probably be an outline of a larger presentation. 2 minutes, you can tell a little bit more about yourself. Clinton, I thought that you did a great job this morning. You were prepared to do the introduction. There were no breaks, no hiccups, and you told us about who you are, what you do, and all that information. And so if you're trying to ad-lib on video, because video is new for us, I know for me personally, I have been working on my video skills as part of my photography, and so I'm more comfortable doing video selfies now. If you don't do it normally, you're going to be. I still remember my first selfie was a nose cam shot of for about a minute, but keep that in mind. So, for example, your presentation should always start off with who you are and your business name. What's your business about? You may want to describe what your ideal customer looks like, what your strengths are, what your ideal business interaction would be. You may not deal with customers, you're providing a service. So anything that would help your audience understand what you're about. And I would suggest if you're doing networking, to maybe add something personalized about yourself that makes you stand out. Mike Corradino, who was a good mentor for me, one of the things I always remember him saying is, always say something that somebody will identify with, because they buy from people people buy from folks they have relationships with. And so it could be something off the wall. He always told you that he was a monkey catcher, and you always knew that Mike was a monkey catcher. And so there's something unique about what you do. Capture that and make that part of your presentation. So the next time the audience or somebody from the audience runs into you downtown at a social distance, they say, "Hey, how are the monkeys doing today?" So you're building that relationship, and you're making the most out of the time that's available to you. And so I was thinking about something that would be different that you probably would ask me about next time. Well, I was a Boy Scout in Jamaica. I went to live in Wales for 2 years, and I did Boy Scouting there. And there they taught me how to cook a meal up in a tree. And I still have a scar to show for that event. So if you have any questions, I think there's probably a good time to ask them. What do you think, Dave?
Questions in the chat?
We don't have any there right now, but Glenn, can you talk a little bit about the virtual backgrounds and where you can access some of them?
Yes, there are a number of resources. I believe you just sent it out in the last newsletter of virtual backgrounds and what that looks like. I mean, some of you are using it now, but I can change mine real quick. Of where we all rather be, on a cruise on a beach, relaxing far away from COVID-19. One of the things to have virtual backgrounds look for the best for you is make sure you're well lit. What Zoom is doing is edge detection on your face. And if you can have a solid color background behind you, they work best. Green screen, solid white, solid black, those are usually the best colors. And never wear clothes that match your color background, because then the virtual backgrounds will do some really funky things.
There are places that like Shutterstock have free office backgrounds that you may want to use. I personally, I like my background because I'm a photographer. That's my photograph. One of the things that I have to do to it is add my logo. So you may want to have that, think about doing something like that so your business is always in front of the audience and they know who you are. The thing you have to keep in mind that you have to post your logo in the reverse image, because if you put it on right side up, when you're in here, you'll be looking at Art's Tree Mango in reverse. The first time I tried that, I couldn't. It surprised the heck out of me, and Glenn reminded me of that the other day. One of the question I have, Glenn, is you mentioned setting up a profile picture. How do you do that?
When you're looking at the participants list on the side of Zoom, if you right click, when you hover over it, you see a more button. When you click that more button, there's a choice to edit your profile picture.
Okay.
And then you can just upload one. I have mine as my logo, but you can do one of your face, just something that identifies it as you.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Amanda, any questions?
Jackie
No.
has a question.
Great. Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you. Thanks for noticing me, Stuart. I just wanted to add something that as participants in Zoom calls, there's something that we can do also, and that is smile, nod, or clap, something that the speaker can see so that they're getting your feedback. Like Glenn said, it's as a speaker, when we're in public, we get so much from being able to see people's feedback, and then we know how to respond. When people are just, when you don't see any type of reaction, you start thinking, is my microphone working? Is it, how am I doing? So as a speaker, like I see Tanya just now nodded a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, John. It makes a big difference. So as participants, that's a way we can help the speaker do a better job, feel confident, and make everything more, sorry, that's the dog, make everything go more smoothly.
If I could add one thing, we're at home or someplace looking at a video and you don't have an appreciation for all the folks around you. And for me, the thing I try to keep in mind is I'm in a very large office space, sitting around a table in a very large room. And how would I interact with the rest of the people on that table? One of the pluses with doing something online video teleconferencing, you can ask people things in private without interrupting the rest of the flow. The thing with that is that if you share funny stories, it'll be tough to keep a straight face while you're in a professional setting. But think of yourself as being in that space, and you're more likely to have better etiquette than not. If you're using a phone, don't wander around your house once you finish your presentation, because it becomes distracting. Somebody is outside now cleaning the grill, doing something with the pool, making up their bed. All of those things become distracting. We tend to forget that. The other day, I was on a call where the person was driving, and I was worried for them. I'm sure they weren't planning to do anything. They were probably listening more than watching, but it was distracting to see the scenery changing. So just keep that in mind as well.
Amanda? And no other
questions?
Okay, before we go on, what I'd like to do, we will be asking everyone to do a self-introduction, and we will go alphabetical by first name. But before we do that, I want to talk about some things that are coming up this week. I'd like to ask Amanda to talk about some webinars, and then I will mention our first in-person event that we're planning to do. So why don't you tell everybody what's coming up for webinars this week, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. Wednesday at 11:30, we have cross promotion on social media. Jackie Peterson from Splash Social Marketing is going to lead that. And then we have Lindsay from Mighty Clean Cans is going to join us for that as well. And then on Thursday, we have the Empowered NPO at 9 a.m. and that's with Nancy Cummings. You can find more information on both of those webinars in this morning's newsletter, and then you can register for them directly through that.
Okay. And then on Thursday night, it's been a long time since we've been able to get together and do an in-person event, but we have kind of an impromptu thing to celebrate getting back to work and to celebrate the great work that our board chair and our board of directors have done during this time. We're going to have a past chairs reception. Kalina Myers is going to host a past chairs reception, and that will be at Lake Catherine Blueberry Farm, and that will be on Thursday evening, and we will have some details about that on social media coming up. But that will be our first time to bring folks together, safely social distance, in a relaxed atmosphere. So we'll have some details on that. So at this time, what we would like to do is we will go around as we usually do,